Under the golden hues of a desert sunset, Jax knelt beside his gleaming black Harley, the engine still ticking from a long ride. The small gas station buzzed faintly with fluorescent lights, casting long shadows across the cracked pavement. He wiped sweat from his brow, his leather jacket creaking softly. That's when he noticed her, a tiny girl with pigtails, clutching a faded doll, her eyes wide and tear-streaked. She stood frozen by the pump, as if the world had paused just for her sorrow. Jax's heart, hardened by miles of lonely roads, stirred unexpectedly. "Hey, kid," he rumbled gently, "you lost." She shook her head, her voice a whisper carried on the dry wind. "My mom's sick." 287 characters. The words hung in the air like exhaust smoke, simple yet shattering. Jax glanced at the rundown motel across the highway, its neon sign flickering, "Vacancy," in mocking invitation. The girl, no more than 6, fiddled with her dress's hem, the fabric worn thin from too many washes. "She's inside," she murmured, pointing a trembling finger. "Can't pay for the pills. Doctor said we need him now." Jax's mind raced back to his own fractured childhood, nights of feverish worry, a mother's cough echoing through thin walls. He stood, towering yet tender, and extended a calloused hand. "Show me," he said, his voice steady as the rumble of his bike. Together, they crossed the lot, her small steps quickening to match his stride. 312 characters. The motel room door creaked open to a dim haze of stale air and worry. On the sagging bed lay the mother, pale as moonlight, her breath's shallow rasps against the thin pillow. Empty water cups cluttered the nightstand, beside a crumpled prescription slip. The girl darted to her side, whispering comforts too big for her age. Jax hovered in the doorway, helmet tucked under his arm like a shield he no longer needed. "How long?" he asked the woman, who managed a weak smile through cracked lips. "Couple days. Cough turned bad overnight. We were heading to family in Tucson." Her eyes, mirrors of her daughter's, pleaded silently. Jax nodded, resolve hardening like cooling metal. This wasn't his fight, but damn if he'd walk away. 298 characters. Outside again, the evening cooled, stars pricking the vast sky like distant promises. Jax paced beside his Harley, the girl's words looping in his head. Medicine, simple word, impossible price for folks like them. His fingers traced the helmet's sleek curve, a custom job bought with his last big payout from a cross-country haul. It wasn't just gear, it was armor, stories etched in every scratch from bar fights to border runs. But looking at the girl, now perched on the bike's seat with innocent curiosity, he knew. Sacrifices weren't always grand gestures, they were quiet trades in the dead of night. "Stay here, kid," he said, ruffling her hair. "Gonna fix this." She nodded, trust blooming in her gaze like a desert flower after rain. 301 characters. The local pawn shop glowed like a beacon in the sleepy town's strip, its windows cluttered with forgotten treasures. Jax strode in, helmet in hand, the bell jangling his arrival. Behind the counter, an old-timer with tobacco-stained fingers peered up, squinting. "Whatcha got there, stranger?" "Looks like real leather, Harley original." Jax slid it across the scarred wood. "Need cash, quick, for meds." The pawnbroker turned it over, appraising with a practiced eye. 200. "Best I can do." Jax's jaw tightened, it was half what it was worth, but time wasn't on his side. "Make it 250, he countered, voice low. A beat, then a nod. Bills exchanged hands, crisp and cold. Jax pocketed them, the weight of his bare head feeling strangely light. 299 characters. Back at the motel, the pharmacist's bag crinkled in Jax's fist as he knocked softly. The door opened to the girl's beaming face, her arms wrapping around his leg in a hug that nearly buckled him. "You did it," she squealed, pulling him inside. The mother sat up, color faint but returning to her cheeks, as Jax handed over the vials, antibiotics, fever reducers, enough to bridge them to Tucson. "Don't know how to thank you," she whispered, tears tracing paths down her face. Jax shrugged, awkward in the face of gratitude. Had an extra helmet lying around. No big thing, but it was, every dent in that helmet told of risks he'd taken, now traded for her healing. The girl tugged his sleeve. "You're a hero, mister." Jax chuckled, throat tight. Heroes rode alone, but tonight, he didn't mind company. 302 characters. Dawn crept over the horizon, painting the sky in strokes of pink and gold. Jax revved his Harley to life, the familiar roar a balm to his soul. The mother stood waving from the doorway, bundled in a shawl, the girl bouncing beside her with renewed energy. "Safe travels," Jax called, helmetless head catching the first rays. He tapped the empty spot on his bike where protection once sat, a small price for the warmth in his chest. As he merged onto the empty highway, wind whipping his hair, he glanced in the mirror. Two figures shrank to specks, but their story lingered, a new chapter in his tattooed tale. Kindness, he realized, was the real road warrior, unseen, but it carried you farther than any machine. 278 characters. Miles blurred into hours, the desert unfolding like an old map under Jax's tires. He thought of the girl's doll, clutched tight during their walk, a silent guardian in her tiny world. How many more like her were out there, voices lost in the roar of indifference? Jax had run from his past, debts, demons, a father's shadow, but this detour forced a reckoning. Selling the helmet stripped more than leather, it peeled back layers of self-reliance, revealing the man beneath. A billboard loomed, "Family, your greatest ride." He smirked, accelerating past. Family wasn't blood, it was the strangers you chose to carry. By noon, he'd cross into New Mexico, but the weight of that choice rode with him, lighter than fear, heavier than regret. 292 characters. In a roadside diner that afternoon, Jax nursed black coffee, steam curling like unanswered questions. Truckers bantered at the counter, their tales of hauls and hardtakes a gritty symphony. He overheard snippets, a dad buying diapers on credit, a widow selling heirlooms for gas. Ordinary folks, weaving survival from scraps. Jax pulled out the pawn slip, a flimsy receipt for his sacrifice. It wasn't noble poetry, it was raw math, one life tipping the scale for another. The waitress refilled his mug, her eyes kind. "Ride in free today," she noted his bare head. "Feels right," he replied. As he left a tip bigger than his bill, Jax felt the threads connecting them all, fragile, vital, human. The road called, but now with purpose echoing in its hum. 286 characters. Sunset found Jax at another horizon, the same golden light bathing his silhouette against the vastness. No helmet to shield him, but vulnerability sharpened his senses, the wind's whisper, the earth's quiet pulse. He'd altered a trajectory that night, a ripple in time's endless flow. The girl would grow, her mother heal, and somewhere, in quiet moments, they'd remember the biker with no name but endless heart. Jax gunned the engine, chasing the fading light, not fleeing but pursuing. Life's true currency wasn't chrome or cash, it was the courage to give when it hurt. As stars wheeled overhead, he smiled into the gathering dark. Tomorrow's rides would come, but this story. It was etched deeper than any scar, a testament that even lone wolves could howl for the pack. 298 Chaw.